Yesterday, USCIS announced that they're making changes to the citizenship test for naturalization applicants. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at these major changes, explain when they will be implemented, and what applicants can expect moving forward. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ksenia. I make videos for people who are going through the family immigration process. I'm not an attorney. My videos are based on public information, my own experience, and the experience of my subscribers. And the purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. So let's take a look first at the news release that USCIS made on September 17th of 2025. I do want to pay your guys' attention to the title of this news article from USCIS, and that is, it's going to be a multi-step overhaul of American citizenship standards. So we have already got policy memorandum in how they're going to adjudicate cases and good moral character. Now they're making changes to the actual naturalization test. And I'm going to go directly to the Federal Registered Notice that they published today on September 18th as of filming this video. And I actually will pull up the PDF version of this file because it's a little bit easier to read. So some of the key takeaways from this specific notice is that the Department of Homeland Security and USCIS are re-implementing the 2020 naturalization civics test. So basically, they're not reinventing the wheel. Rather, this new naturalization test will essentially have the same questions that were introduced in the 2020 test. The next important thing from this notice is that this test actually will be implemented for people who apply for naturalization on or after October 20th of 2025. If you have applied for naturalization anytime before October 20th of 2025, you will still continue to take the 2008 civics test version. And then anyone who applied on or after October 20th will begin with the 2025 civics test. We don't really need to go into the purpose and background. You can read that at your own time. But for the sake of the video, I want to pay your guys' attention to Chapter 3. They are using the same 128 questions that were originally introduced in the 2020 test. However, they are making changes to how those questions will be administered. A USCIS officer will be given randomly generated questions, which is generated by their computer, and they will keep asking you these questions until you either answer enough questions to pass the test or enough questions to fail the test. The passing score on the 2025 version is 12 questions. Once you reach the score of 12, the USCIS officer will then be able to discontinue the test, giving you a passing score. However, when you answer 9 questions incorrectly, that is considered a failed score. They're no longer required to ask you all 20 questions. So the last part of this announcement is which applicants will take which version of the naturalization test. So if you have already filed your N-400 application or you file it in less than 30 days from this announcement, then you will continue to take the 2008 version, which means that there's only 100 questions that you need to study, and the passing score is 6 out of 10. Any applicant who submits their N-400 application on or after October 20th of 2025 will begin taking the new version of this test. And the final part of this is the 65-20 rule, which means that if you are an applicant who is 65 or older and you have resided in the United States for at least 20 years, you will only need to answer 6 questions out of 10 correctly, and the version of the test that you will take will depend on when you apply for naturalization. Before October 20th of 2025, you will be presented with the 2008 version of the test. On or after October 20th, then you will be administered questions from the 2025 test version, but regardless, you will only need to answer 6 questions correctly to achieve a passing score. They do anticipate that the majority of applicants for naturalization probably will not begin taking the 2025 naturalization test until a few months from this announcement, because there's a 30-day delay for this rule to be implemented, and then also there is a delay after you apply, because obviously even if you receive a naturalization interview notice the same day you apply, which probably won't happen, usually the interview notice comes in at least 2 months in advance. So the majority of people will begin taking the 2025 naturalization test, most likely in the beginning of 2026. The next thing I want to pay your attention to is the Citizenship Resource Center study materials and resources. On this page, on the left-hand side, if you click on the link that says 2025 Civics Test, it will take you to a page with resources. You can download the questions that will appear on the 2025 version of this test. And here is a PDF of these questions that provides you with the question itself and the answers that you may provide. They're not saying that you have to provide all 3 answers to get a passing score on a specific questions. You only need to provide one of these possible answers that they give you under each question. They also provide a 2025 version of the study guide for this test. So instead of just drilling on the questions themselves and memorizing the answers, they do provide a booklet that talks about the structure of the US government, the Constitution, geography, early history, basically go into a little bit more detail explaining the reasoning behind the questions that they added to the test and what exactly they mean. So it's not just pure memorization. Now, one of the other things I also wanted to mention when talking about this major update to the test is that there was no mention of changes to the reading and the writing components of the test. So as of now, we can assume that the reading and writing components will remain the same, which means that an applicant will have to read one sentence and then write one sentence. You may have seen some clips of the USCIS director talking about making the naturalization test more rigorous, including possibly writing an essay.
So we're going to make the test harder in terms of making the questions a little bit more thought-provoking, and actually have to do that and write an essay on what does it mean to me to be an American.
As of now, we do not have an update about you writing an essay. So that was all just in the talks. I don't want you guys to panic. The major update was specifically in the questions. Of course, if there are any additional updates to the naturalization test, I will do my best to make a video to cover those. I hope that you found this video useful. Let me know if you have any additional questions. I do recommend that you check out my naturalization playlist to see if there's any additional videos that might interest you, or some important updates will definitely be in that playlist. Good luck in your naturalization process, and I hope to see you guys in my next videos. Bye!